Welcome back to Channels Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. Earlier this week, I sat down with Michael Simeon, the CEO of Vogue Pay, and his colleague Mohammed Ibrahim Jega, the company's head of business development. They've created a fast-growing payment processor that makes multi-channel and cross-currency transactions safer, cheaper and more accessible for global consumers. I started by asking Michael how it feels to have founded a business that has the potential to revolutionize payment processing on the continent.
Yeah, it's feel good. We're very excited. We want to take how the direction we're taking and how we're taking the business. So simple replies, we're very excited about it.
What is your unique selling point? Because if I want to send money home, most of us, not all of us, we just go to the first, store that you see on the high street and you're like, look, I need to send 100 quid to somebody in Ibadan. What's different about you guys?
So what's different about us is, first of all, let's break down we provide financial services as a SaaS, as a solution to microfinance and banks. So then we also partner with banks to be able to enable us to do what we do right now. People come to us because they see us as a trusted bridge, that these guys are doing the right thing in order to, in terms of that will give them longevity.
Okay, what about Joe Bloggs on the street who just wants to send money home? How do you make that simple?
That's simple. We're bringing out some new set of APIs that will be given to banks that we're working with partner bank that can't names. We're creating a borderless experience, financial experience.
Of course, Nigeria last year, according to the World Bank, sent $24.3 billion home. That is massive. And now all the big boys are saying, hang on a minute, if our diaspora is sending this money home, we want to use it. We don't just want it going to the villages or to one auntie who's having a wedding. We want to use that to build the country. Do you agree with that?
If you look at the breakdown, majority of those money are going to people who need it the most. And those people, they've been taken advantage of by various money companies in terms of transferring. They pay the most expensive. I remember the CBN have a workshop in conjunction with World Bank, if my memory serves me right. We had it about 2 years ago in Marina, Lagos, and everyone there stressed the same thing. Now, I think that is a very tip of the iceberg in terms of the opportunity. The opportunity is, according to World Bank in 2017 or 16, if my memory serves me correctly, you and I in diaspora, we have 400 billion African, 400 billion sitting on their bank account.
Maybe that's you. You and your family members. No, but no, you're right. You're right. There's more that we're even saving, isn't there?
Yeah, we're not even saying it. We actually live in it in our bank abroad.
There's a lot of money locked up in the diaspora.
Yeah, and I will tell you something. As a company, because we've been around now for 9 years, we've established integrity and credibility in the market. People know that we're serious people. So you even get diaspora calling us at the time where all Nigerians are going to T-bills, asking us that, can we help them put money? We said, no, we're not set up for that, but we learn that these people want this service. Then we approach bank in order to provide that solution.
It's quite interesting you're saying that. Mohammed, let me bring you into this, because a lot of the diasporans were saying, hang on a minute, yes, you can have the CEOs of banks and central bank governors saying, oh, this remittances is fantastic and we want some of it, but they're not speaking to the remitters themselves. But it's interesting because what Michael here is saying is that you have been speaking to the diasporans and they are saying, give us a platform, give us a medium to put our money back home.
Yes, a lot of them believe in us because of our track record, as he earlier said, and we are trying to see how we can be able to consolidate on those successes so that we can not miss that point, to be able to see how we can be able to manage the critical mass.
Are you in competition with the banks? Sterling Bank are here, Access Bank are here, First Bank, GT Bank. They're all here. They've all got nice buildings in the centre of London.
This where the technology.
I think for us, we always think these questions have been coming up in different forums. In the African, where I normally engage, I share panel with the banks. I told them that we are there to complement them. We're not to compete. So they should look at us as complementers because they have legacy issues. We can innovate per hour.
My prediction is, and it depends on where
Let
you
me
are.
take notes because me too, I want to be a young millionaire. Oh, yeah.
my prediction is what the bank have spent 200 years model, because the banking model we have is 200 years, over 200 years old. Now, fintech like us, we're doing it in 2 years.
Wow. Well, Michael Simeon and Mohammed Ibrahim Jagger, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure my colleagues in Lagos and Abuja will like to have you on their business shows too.
Thank you very
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
for
much
joining
for
me
having
on
us.
Channels Business Global.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Simeon and Mohammed Ibrahim Jagger of Vogue Pay there. Now on to British news. The father of modern computing, Alan Turing, will be the face of the new £50 note. The new polymer note is expected to enter circulation by the end of 2021, and it will feature a quote from Turing given in an interview to the Times newspaper in 1949. He said, "This is only a foretaste of what's to come and only the shadow of what's going to be." Joining me in the studio for more British business news is our business correspondent, Simon Pusey. Welcome, Simon. Nice to see you. Brexit in the spotlight again. This time, small business company owners a bit worried about staff shortages.
Yeah, business bosses are saying to the government that they think after Brexit there is going to be a problem with staff, with so many people from the EU leaving the country and not many coming back into the country. So they're saying, can we have the threshold that you get paid lowered from £30,000 to £20,000? This is to encourage people from all around the world to come to the UK to work here. At the moment, you have to earn a minimum of £30,000 to get that work visa to come here. If you want a work visa, they're saying, can we reduce that to £20,000? And these are bosses from places like the NHS, from prisons.
Oh, wow. Big
from
bosses.
hospitals. Yeah, saying that, look, we're going to have staff shortages when Brexit happens potentially, and they're worried about that. So the government is saying, the Home Office is saying they will consult on these plans. They haven't made any decisions yet.
Brexit, Brexit, Brexit. Gosh, Ryanair, you know, I'm a mum, family, lady. This is the last thing you want to hear when it comes to the summer holidays, a problem with an airline. What's the issue with them? Yeah,
so Ryanair is saying they may need to cut a number of flights next summer. So this summer is fine. The reason is for this Boeing crisis with their planes, the Boeing 737 MAX, which is currently grounded, of course, after those two crashes, those fatal crashes within 5 months of each other that killed so many people. The reason that Ryanair are saying this is that they've got a big order of planes, about 50 planes that they ordered, and they're only going to get about half of them because the Boeing is still grounded, the 737 MAX. They're saying that just over half of those planes they're not going to receive, and therefore next summer they're going to have to cut some of those summer flights.
Are they going to charge the passengers for that?
I think passengers will just have to make do or go to other airlines if there aren't enough tickets. But
Ryanair with their hidden charges. And very quickly, Simon, what about this flexible working bill? We all like a bit of flexible working, but an MP has actually taken this to Parliament. What's all that about?
Yeah, so this happened just yesterday, but they're having a second reading of it today. This is the MP Helen Whately. She's a Conservative MP. She says that flexible working for people like mothers, and it'll help the gender pay gap as well, that a lot of people don't take up certain positions because they've obviously got family commitments. So her argument is that this should be it shouldn't be up to the individual to go to their boss and say, hey, can I work from home on these days? It should be something that's standard across the board.
How realistic is this? Because we've seen it in Europe. Apparently, Britain is quite draconian. They haven't caught up with their European counterparts, have they, about working hours?
Well, I think the technology is obviously there. You've got things like Skype, and everyone's using their phones these days for things like that. So I don't think there's any problem with that. I think you're right. I think it's more of a cultural thing. People want to see people coming into work on time and looking smartly dressed and things like that.
We need to catch up, don't we, Simon?
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh, it goes so quick, but it's all your flexible working hours, I think it is. Sadly, that's all we have time for today, but do join us again at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis on Channels Business Global. Goodbye.